Welcome to Spiritual and Sassy, the podcast where we bleed deep soul wisdom with authentic confidence.
We're your host,
Tressa
and Myra, and together we'll explore the mystical side of life, challenge societal norms and programming, and embrace our inner power.
Whether you're on a spiritual journey or just love a little sass, this space is for you.
Let's dive in and light up the world with a little more love.
Don't even look at it. Oh, here we are. That was the
Hello.
fastest 5 seconds ever. Okay, yeah, I know. Don't touch the mouse, Tressa. Do not touch the mouse. I've been having issues this morning, people out there in listener land, with my impatience.
Oh my gosh. It's just one of those days, honestly. I feel like once the sun gets a certain degree, shit just turns into hyperdrive. And I know in Wyoming it happens that way even more. Because
Yeah.
it's like, oh my gosh, we can leave this
We can
house.
leave.
Yeah.
There's sun. It's warm.
You're coming out in your bunker. My gosh, there's a place beyond the wall. Yeah. So it's just
Oh,
one of those days. But yeah, I don't know. I'm happy. I'm alive. It's sunny. It's really humid here.
oh yeah.
Like ridiculously humid.
Mm-hmm.
I have terrible allergies right now, but I'm
Oh.
hoping I thought about just going out and huffing pollen. Like, you know how like when you eat,
Yeah,
honey
you
from
just,
local bees?
Yeah.
I'm trying to what if I just go get in it,
Mhm.
for a minute and
Yeah,
just let my immune
maybe.
system, I don't know if
But-
it's the smartest thing to do, but the theory's there.
The theory, I like the theory. I don't know how you'd react to it, but hey, might work.
Yeah, I'd come out puffy and
Yeah,
can't see.
puffy.
My eyes are
Yeah.
yeah. So there's an
You never
option.
know.
Yeah. Remember that
Oh,
last
great.
episode about advice? Yeah, this might not be it.
Don't
Don't
you.
do this.
What is it called? Immersion therapy?
Yeah, I don't know if this
Don't
is
do
it.
that.
Yeah,
Not a good idea.
it's
I'm
not
so
it.
grateful. I don't think I've really had allergies before. I do wake up in the summer a little stuffy because I sleep with my mouth open.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I can't change that. I just went to the dentist this week. And I've
Mhm.
always had, when I get my teeth cleaned, my gums bleed a lot. They're doing so
Yeah.
much better because I've been using this gum therapy, like
Oh, cool.
by Listerine. But
Yeah.
she was telling me, I was like, what causes that? She's like, well, allergies, which I really don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, do you sleep with your mouth open? And I said, oh, yeah. And she's
Mhm.
like, well, yeah, because everything dries out. So she's
that
like,
makes
that's
sense.
just part of your existence.
Yeah.
Get used to
Welcome.
it.
Yeah.
Welcome, my little poor gums. I'm so
That's-
sorry.
Yeah, I my mom when she was pregnant with me had a ton of allergies. So she said she stayed just completely congested.
Really?
So if there's some
She's
connection
like,
there, which
thank
I'm
you
sure.
for
Yeah, I was like,
transferring those in Euro.
love the blessings. # blessed. Appreciate it. So I also have to accept my fate, Tressa. This is
I
just
know,
who I
don't we
am.
all?
Yeah.
Yes. Don't we all? Well, this is fun. This is a different time for us. It's a Saturday morning. We haven't
Yeah.
recorded on a Saturday in ever.
Ever. No, but it's
It's
like I
kind of
said,
nice.
It is
I
nice.
like it. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a nice
it's
time
not
of
so
day.
bad. Yeah,
Yeah. So
it's not so bad unless
It's
you
not
have a
so
birthday
bad.
party at 10 a.m.
I just got done with a birthday party.
Yeah, and it was so funny because I took Nola and it's a child's birthday party and she's like, well, what are we going to eat? And Blake's like, I don't know, butter and biscuits, like it's
Yeah.
breakfast food. I mean, you don't have to feed people at a party. I think that's those societal things, cake should be
Yeah.
enough for fruit. And that is enough, but it
Yeah.
was just so funny hearing her was like, what are we going to eat? And I'm like, I really don't know. The pizza places aren't open. And,
What did they serve you?
they had sandwiches and
Oh, wow.
fruit. It was mostly
Oh.
fruit, and then they were going to do cake, and
Hmm.
it's like at a park that had a splash
Mhm.
pad too, so
So the kids could
so-
play.
Yeah, and
Perfect.
it's North Carolina where it's already freaking 80
Yeah.
at 10 a.m. So, no worries there.
Yeah.
You could get wet, and nobody was shivering to death. So, yeah, I mean, mostly kids were running around and entertained, but she was really upset she did miss cake, and I'm like, I get it.
Oh.
So she did special order a slice, and we
To be
will go
delivered.
retrieve it. Yeah, we'll go retrieve it for her. Yeah, so
That sounds fair.
that's what I said. I'm like, yeah, you're cool, man. We got things to do. We got to speed up this rodeo.
We got to get going here.
Yeah, this you just jump started your whole day.
Well, should we jump into today's
Yeah,
topic from cake to
from cake
the higher
to
self?
the self, the real cake.
The real cake, yeah, the truth.
The
So yeah,
truth.
we were texting yesterday, and I was asking Myra, like, what are you thinking about? We wanted to chat about this week, and because we usually let the topics come pretty organically, and she brought up the higher self, and I was like, yeah, let's do that. That sounds good to me. But I wanted to make some notes because it's a topic that it's a little more deep than some of the other things that we've talked about. As I've kind of been on my journey, and I think about what I've learned about what the higher self means to me and how I've worked with my clients to help them connect to their higher self. The very first thing I think you have to know, and I say this so many times, is who you are at an authentic level. I mean, that is part of your higher self, right? I think about the spiritual essence of us, and that represents like your true spiritual nature. And this is so great. Your true spiritual nature is completely uncorrupted by your ego.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that again because it's a good one. Your true spiritual nature, your authenticity, is uncorrupted by your ego or by fear, which the ego brings fear to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, a release of worldly concerns, and that's like what you were just talking about, even as simple as the expectation of going to a birthday party and this is what happens at a birthday party, right? Those are worldly expectations of how society is structured or how I should be structured or what I should do. And then spiritual essence to me embodies like a deep wisdom that is through the lens of love. You know, that to me is like your spiritual essence, which is a huge part of finding that authenticity within yourself. So I'll stop there. I have a few more points, but I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I love it. And when I was, because the reason I wanted to even talk about this is something that honestly I felt really difficult. I felt like it was difficult for me to ever connect to my higher self for a couple of reasons. One, I'm sure there were blockages. I'm not even sure I know. So there were things I needed to work through. There was being in my true authenticity that I needed to even reach. A couple episodes ago, we said ego death, whatever you want to call it, releasing the ego. Those are some things that I had to work through. Also, too, I'm sure other people feel this way, but I'm very creative and I'm open, but I have a very logical side to my mind. And Tressa knows this. And so before I just would wonder and say, am I just making up answers? Like, am I just answering myself, And, am I just hallucinating or what, like what's me and what's not me? But what's so funny about it is I was, I've been reading more and, as I'm learning, one thing that I wrote this down too, it says it's the you who already knows the answer, the you who lives in purpose, peace, and power, and your higher self is you. And so it's not really me saying, is it really me just answering the question? It's actually the truth. It is me answering the question. It's me. It's me. It's me that already knows the answer. And I laugh because during my frantic moments of life, and I've looked at Tressa and been like, what should I do? Blah. You want everyone else to tell you what to do. And she's like, you already know the answer. And I've always already known the answer for every single situation that I've been in. We talked about it in the last episode, asking for advice and seeking advice. What is that even for? Is it just validating an answer we already knew or trying to manipulate us to think that there's another path, etc.? But it's always you. It's you that knows. It's you. And so all these questions and things that I've been like, well, is it really me? That am I talking to myself? Basically, well, kind of, yeah. And you already know those things. And so it's getting to that next level where you're really in your inner knowing. You're in that true, authentic, raw knowing. And so that's really one of the reasons I wanted to bring up the subject and talk about it, because it is deeper. It's something that if I'm wondering and questioning about or I know others are.
Yeah.
As people learn about it. And what's really interesting is over the last few weeks, I've mentioned different episodes, like going through things, and it's been about a month, I think, fully a month. And what's so wild is when I've been living in my true authenticity, all the noise because I'm a thinker and I live in my head.
Yeah.
I could honestly talk to myself. A lot of the noise went away. Like I'm not overthinking. I'm not trying to absorb outside information to make the decision. Now I am listening to guidance if it's truly led guidance. And before I even speak with people about what I'm going through, I've, prayed and I've asked for them to be led or whatever they need, that love can come from them so that it's truly authentic exchange of information as well. And I've been putting that out there. But I have stopped questioning what I know by
Hmm.
outside information. The noise has stopped. I haven't
Yeah.
even been anxiously Googling anything. I,
I
I
know.
don't,
That's huge for you.
it's insane. Like,
Yes.
honestly, like my energy vibrating out of me is so much more peaceful. Like, I
Hmm.
know other people around me have to feel it too. I know they feel it too, and
Sure. Yeah.
it's not, it's, I would say it's almost scary, but it's not. Like, I'm still me and I'm a spaz, but it's a totally different version of it. Like, I have
Hmm.
literally just let things be and surrendered to it, and it's all aligning exactly how it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And I'm not, and it's when I've let go of trying to fight against this knowing and really just listen to what I know is the truth and what I should do.
I love that. And I think two things. One is you talked about, sometimes we want to go and ask somebody, what should I do? And sometimes that's actually your higher self directing you. I
Hmm.
mean, it can be a
Yeah.
direction because we're meant to, connect and help each other and guide each other.
Hmm.
However, so often in the world that we currently live in, you're giving your power away. And there's a
Yeah.
difference there, right?
Yeah.
If you're guided to the individual or you're guided to a friend or an episode of
Hmm.
something, or who knows how the
Yeah,
information can
exactly.
come. You've been asking for the information, and then something they say or you hear resonates with you at the heart level. That's different than
Hmm.
the anxious energy. I hope you don't mind. I can use a situation you were in
Oh yeah.
quite a while ago when you were in such anxious energy when you wanted to get pregnant.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
You wanted me to do something, or there
Yeah.
was an anxious energy to
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
because you wanted to control it. Right?
Yeah.
And the other thing that I know to be true is that when you are in your authenticity and you're listening to your higher self, things unfold with ease.
Yep.
It's not hard. It
Yep.
may not be what you want. That's the
Hmm.
difference. It may not be what you want to happen, right? It might
Hmm.
be, but things are unfolding with grace and ease,
Yep.
right? Like I've shared the story about when I made the decision that Grace had to be rehomed. Is that what I wanted from my own logical mind? No, it's not. But
No.
when I made the decision, and that's exactly what was supposed to happen for my higher self and others, right?
Hmm.
Even deeper than me, it just fell into place I couldn't have believed how easy it could have fallen into place, right? And
Oh
that's
yeah.
the difference. And you're talking about that in the journey that you're on. Things are just happening easily.
Hmm.
The things are showing up that you need, even though it's a more difficult season of your life, right? It's really
Yeah, it's
not, though.
honestly
That's the crazy
blissful.
part.
It's the craziest part is it's the most bliss and
Yeah.
happy I've been in
Yeah.
years. Like, seriously, I mean, I make up songs all the time, but and Blake calls them my show tunes because honestly, I should have been on Broadway. But
You still got
yeah,
time, girl. You
I
still
know,
got
on my
time.
way. Yeah, but I mean, seriously, like I've been singing more, I'm playing more, I'm in this just fun, happy state, and my whole vibration has just shifted because this is actually like by society really shitty. By me, not, and
Yeah.
it's so funny because like I think people want me to be miserable and sad about it
People
and
do.
like crying and horrible, and I've, shared with people like my mom, we talk about my mom a lot, but my mom's so sweet and she loves labels and she loves to give information away. She just doesn't know how to you don't have to give the details, man.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like, Myra's really embarrassed. And I said, whoa, no, no, no.
Embarrassed.
Myra is not embarrassed, for one. For two, I'm now embarrassed that you said I was embarrassed. Like, what the heck? And so, but I genuinely mean that. I am not embarrassed. She might be. Or if she
Mm-hmm.
was in the situation, she might be. I'm not. I'm cool, man. I'm like skating on party land. I don't give a it's been the best thing that I could have ever decided for myself and my family. And it's awesome. Like, I mean, honestly, it is incredible. And I am grateful that I'm in this situation. And it's taught me so much about myself and about, honestly, the way people viewed me before and the way people view me now. And, I've had people be supportive and there's people not been supportive. But if I was in the state of just being erratic and compulsive's a great word to put
Mm-hmm.
around it,
Yeah.
I probably would let all that impact me,
Mm-hmm.
and this came up and we'll circle it back into here. But I was talking, it made me think. So I went and had a massage from a new massage lady the other week, and she's more than a massage lady. She's a nice person. She's an energy worker. She's a light worker.
Yeah.
She's all the things. She's cool. And it was my first time going to her, and I booked just a massage. She also practices Reiki and other spiritual forms. And, she sat with me and we did basically like a consultation before she ever gave me the massage, which was really cool
Mm-hmm.
because,
Yeah.
I've never really had that before, but because of her practice, I'm sure she was just trying to fill me out too,
Yeah.
like,
That's
who is this
awesome. Mm-hmm.
person,
Yeah.
and as we talked, we exchanged ideas, and, it was a wonderful conversation. So she knew, okay, this person, she said this person is okay with the woo woo, so she's like, okay,
Yeah.
she's cool. So like it changed how my entire session went with my massage. But at the end, she's like, hey, I just have to tell you this, and she shared with me that she saw an image of an alligator in the swamp. But the alligator had like this big, and I envisioned like cartoon eyes, just these
Yeah.
big old eyes
Yeah.
above the water, just looking. And that's what she said. She's like, they're just looking, but the body was submerged. And, it was really interesting. I could take that a million and 100 ways. I could be crazy about it, or I could think about it. And, it's one of those things. But what it really just told me when she said it, I knew exactly what she's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at an alligator, they have a really good spiritual meaning behind them. They have the tenacity, they have growth, but also I think it's even more than just that. When you're in the muck, like, and a swamp's really gross. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know anyone that's like, oh, this beautiful swamp. I mean, swamps have their own beauty, but
They have
like,
yeah, I get
who's
it. They have a charm.
frolicking in the
Yeah.
swamp, right? And the swamp's probably the shit that I'm going through and wading
Mm-hmm.
through it, but really being alert at what's around me. And it's like keeping myself still hidden. And it's not in the
Mm-hmm.
secrecy like we talked about in a couple episodes
Mm-hmm.
ago. There's a few, I'm not giving away so much information all the time. I'm not telling all these people these things. I'm still I'm on alert. I'm watchful.
Yep.
But she said the number one thing about it, she said, I just want to tell you the whole thing was really peaceful. It was like super peaceful. She said, I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel nervous. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have any of that energy, like those feelings during the whole time that I was, it was coming to her at the end.
Yeah.
And she said it was just really peaceful and calm. And I'm like, well, that's exactly how I feel. Like, if I put myself in the position of the alligator, I am very calm. I'm wading through a lot of shit, but I'm staying very aware. And
Mm-hmm.
I've shared with people when they've asked me about the situation, I've said, honestly, I'm trusting myself. I'm trusting myself. I'm turning
Yes.
inward.
Yeah.
I'm turning
There you go.
inward. I don't need the resources that I've been led to are there to help me, and those are the
Mm-hmm.
resources that I'm listening to. But honestly, they're not even giving advice either, which is really cool. They're just like, yeah, this is going to be this and this is what it looks like, and they're not even swaying me one way or the other. It's just so peaceful and natural that it's not even a thing, and so
Yeah.
I feel like right now in this season, looking inward, really connecting to myself, being in true authentic energy, and then connecting with my higher power is really where I need to be. It's
Yes, it
inward.
is. It's
I,
always where we need to be.
exactly. And we listened, or you shared with me an episode of a podcast where a lady channeled Archangel Raphael. The
Mm-hmm.
number one thing I took from the whole video was, in a state of where we're looking for outside answers, the stock market, the
Mm-hmm.
economy, our government, whatever the heck, and we're wanting
Mm-hmm.
them to tell us what's going on. The number one thing the Angel Raphael said was, it's you. The way you know and the way you can be safe is you, yourself.
Yes.
Turn inward.
Yourself.
That's where you
Yeah.
find the safety.
Yeah. And when you turn inward and you're listening to that, everything appears. There's nothing that you're ever without. Found, I think COVID was an interesting time, and it was a really great education for me, because one thing I chose to do is One, I don't listen to media. I don't listen to news
Mm-hmm.
or any of that. But I just went inward and I trusted wholeheartedly that anything I
Mm-hmm.
needed would be there. And never one time was I without anything I needed. Never one
Mm-hmm.
time. No, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't need toilet paper. I did none of that stuff that was
Mm-hmm.
happening, right? And even to the degree that my mom lives in Vegas and she was struggling to get toilet paper, oddly.
Yeah.
And my angels guided me, my divinity guided me to one of my high school friends who I hadn't
Mm-hmm.
seen in years. She lived there. And I messaged her and I said, hey, if there's any way that you could help me, with my mother. And she, within that same day, drove toilet paper to my mother's home
Mm-hmm.
in Vegas. Like
Mm-hmm.
I just listened to my angels and my own self, and that's it. It was that easy.
Exactly.
The other thing I'd written down is talking about our divine connection.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about that, that is your higher self because we are all connected to divinity. Whatever word you want to use, whether you want to use God, you want to use universe, you want to use love, there is a higher connection. There is a higher energy, right? That's not of this, what I call 3D energy, right? Divine
Mm-hmm.
universal connection is what I wrote down, or the source of all creation. The way that I view that, and when I do prayer, is I literally ask that the energy of oneness, right, of God. I don't feel that there is a sexual orientation to God. I know most of us talk about it in the male form. I don't ever feel that. I just feel love. I
Mm-hmm.
just feel this sense of unconditional, deep love. And so the other thing I believe is that first understanding your authenticity, but the way to understand your authenticity and the way to connect to your higher self is stillness. It's stillness. And when I work with clients and I use the term meditation, they get weird because
Mm-hmm.
they're like, I can't stop thought. I can't. But you can, maybe not. That's true, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get that. I'm not asking you to. But you can take 5 minutes and sit there in silence. You can do that, right? You can not have your TV on. You can not be looking at your device. You can sit there for 5 minutes and just allow stillness, right? Anyone can do that if you choose to. But so often people are so uncomfortable with themselves that they always have to have distraction. And if
Mm-hmm.
that's you, know that you are absolutely not connected to your higher self yet. You're
Mm-hmm.
not, but you could start, right? That's a place for you to potentially start to learn to connect into that divinity.
Mm-hmm.
That's the divinity that you're talking about when you just know. You just
Mm-hmm.
know. You just know and you trust. Then the trust is the key, right? Trust, move forward. It's like me trusting, that I could reach out to Teresa Vigil, who I hadn't
Mm-hmm.
talked to in years, and it worked just fine when I
Yeah.
trusted exactly the path that they showed me.
Yeah. No, that's exact. And I wrote that down too, actually, is like ways that like I know or I feel like I'm connecting is when I'm saying yes to weird gut feelings. Like those gut feelings that are like, why the hell would I reach
Mm-hmm.
out to Cindy Lou Who in high school, or
Yeah.
whoever. And one thing too I wrote down was what feels expansive versus contractive.
Mm-hmm.
Like that
Good.
is a
I like that.
huge difference. And then letting your inner peace be that metric for your decision making. Like what feels peaceful, and like the way that I feel that I am connecting to my higher self and my higher energy, and the higher self energy. Combine those two phrases. I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but is I'm setting boundaries without the guilt, and like
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling deep, like right now I'm in this really crazy fucking situation that normal people, or not normal, society, I guess, says is crazy. But I'm feeling anchored even when my things are uncertain. Like there is a lot of for this last month, there was a massive amount of uncertainty. And for the first time in my life, I have not been Googling, asking, ChatGPT, calling, questioning anything other than the decision that I made.
Mm-hmm.
I actually feel more anchored and at peace than not. Another thing too is I'm speaking from my truth and I'm not having the fear of judgment. So in the current season I'm in, I'm saying, yeah, this is what I'm doing, but I'm not, this is the truth. This is what's happening. And I
Yeah.
don't care what people say. I don't care. Other people are afraid. I'm not afraid. Like when I said my mom said I was embarrassed, she might be, I'm not. And that's on her to feel those feelings. I'm placing those feelings on her. I'm not asking her to feel that way. She's inserting herself into a situation that has nothing to do with her.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
don't care, or I'm not afraid. I don't care what people think about it. And then what you were saying too earlier, I believe, was like not rushing. You're not rushing or chasing things.
Mm-hmm.
Things are coming to you easily, knowing what's meant for me. And so these are some of those things that I wrote down so that I don't want to forget it, because this was a good
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah.
But, tying back into what you're talking about too.
I love what you're talking about. And the funny part about what you just said is I find that when you do have a boundary or you speak your own truth,
Mm-hmm.
and you said something like, I don't care what other people think. What I found in my experience is this: when I'm truly in my authenticity and I'm speaking my truth, I don't even ever hear,
Mm-hmm.
the perception of negative feedback. It doesn't vibrationally match, so it never can come in.
Yeah.
It's just not even in my sphere,
Yeah.
right? If they think it, maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't even recognize it, see it, feel it, have it expressed to me, because I'm not allowing that vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And that is because I'm in my truth, I'm in my authenticity, right? I'm speaking
Yep.
my truth, I'm standing up for whatever it is that resonates with me. And if it doesn't resonate with them, great, but I don't even know that because it's not
Exactly.
even part of the dialogue or the energy that we're sharing together. We kind of talked about this. I wrote down the inner guidance, letting your intuition align with whatever your highest purpose is. And it's funny, as I've worked with clients over the years, when I ask that question, what resonates with you or what brings you joy, or, because that's your higher purpose.
Mm-hmm.
When you're finding joy in something or you're having fun with something, that's when you know you're on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
And most people have a hard time with that because they still have these limited beliefs about what life is supposed to be, what they're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be doing.
Yep.
So really trying to go, okay, when's the last time that I felt pure joy? Like
Mm-hmm.
when was it? What was I doing in that moment, right? Was I painting? Was I
Mm-hmm.
hiking? Was I, just sitting outside in nature? Was I singing? Was I helping somebody? I mean, when was it that you just felt that sense of joy? And then that can be your point that you start to build from to know what your higher purpose is. Because when you find that,
Mm-hmm.
the game's over, man. And this is a game that we're in.
No, you're right.
You're winning because you found it and you're following it. As I started to be on the journey of the energy work I do,
Mm-hmm.
it's been an interesting journey because when I got my Reiki Masters over 10 years ago, and I just thought, well, I just felt drawn to share it with other people. And the place showed up for me where I could do it. People showed up. I never advertised. It just flowed. And then it's just expanded over the years with different modalities. And, it's just, I know it's part of my journey. I know it's part of my purpose. And I don't have to worry about it. It's just there. It just happens. There's not a lot of effort behind it, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it is where I find joy. It is where
Mm-hmm.
almost like time stands still sometimes when I'm working
Yeah.
with a client or working or learning about spirituality or energy, or, it's a combination of both.
No,
Anyway.
I agree with that. I mean, even just being in a session as the receiver, it feels like time stands still. I actually feel that way when we do the podcast. Sometimes I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, that was whoa.
I know. I have to
Where
watch
did
the
it
time.
go?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and it's because we're in a state of joy. Like this is what brings us joy. And Blake's been on a career path, and everyone is, he's not special, right? And really trying to decide, like, what do you really want to do? And one day I asked him, I'm like, what do you want? Like, what does your heart want to be in? Like, it's not about a title, not about a role. Like, what would you like? What does it look like? And he's had a couple shifts here in the last several years in different positions. And what's really interesting is he just got a new job, and yay for him. But it was so easy. Oh my gosh. Like the easiest thing that easiest interview, the easiest conversations, the easiest offer. Nobody was wondering if he even got the job. He knew he had the job. Like, there was no stress tied to it, not an expectation tied to it. And like, it goes back to that. Like, this is for Blake, he likes corporate and he enjoys it, and he's getting back into an industry that he really, really loves. And it's not about he's not chasing anything, which is amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
The whole role is because this is what he wants to do, and he finds joy in this type of work and in this role, and he's getting back to being in engineering. He's actually going back to being in oil and gas, and it's really crazy,
Which he likes. Yeah.
And it's what's wild about it is the whole reason, we never even thought about moving before was he never thought he could be in that industry here in North Carolina. And now he is. Like, how cool is that, And so all of that aligned so easy. And I've watched the struggle where things just really didn't align, and you could kind of feel in your gut, like, maybe this isn't the right opportunity, maybe this isn't it, or we were chasing something, or it was that, instead of expansive, the contractive.
Yes.
Or it felt even contractual, like there was weird, you're cutting to, or you're adding too many cords or ties to something, and it just feels like, oh, we must do this because of this. Like, it starts to feel, I think that's where that guilt comes in, or that weird feeling where your gut's like, I don't know if this is it. I don't think this is the one. And we still push through things. And then in the end, you see, okay, what the heck was I thinking? But, for him, this is aligned for him, and he's living he's in joy. This is a true state of joy for this individual. And so I wanted to share that.
I love that. I think, one, Blake, you are special. If you listen to this, you are special.
Yeah, he is special.
I think you're amazing.
Yeah. Shining
but two,
star.
I hope that he can recognize, or maybe you can even help him recognize the difference, because I remember, 4 or 5 years ago, whatever the timeline was, where he had applied and was interviewed for this job at a mine here, right? And there was that constrictive energy. Yep. I could feel it, right? Yeah. And I think he did end up getting the job, and then there was a contract to it, and he hated it. He hated it. Mm-hmm. He hated every minute of it. Yeah. And I always believe this, like, when there has to be a contract, I'm out. Peace out, homie. I'm done. Yeah. Like, no contracts for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that is confinement, right? Mm-hmm. That is, you're already putting the energy of confinement into whatever that is, whether that be a job, whether that be, one of my friends asked me about if I would sign a prenup. I'm like, abso-freaking-lutely not. No way. No way. I would not start a relationship that way. Mm-hmm. What energy is that?
Exactly.
You've got a contract to show your love because of fucking shit?
Yeah, exactly.
Because of things? No, absolutely not. At that moment, I would know this isn't for me. That's just me.
Yeah.
She could do whatever works for her. I'm not judging that. But the energy of the contract, 100% no. Especially in those situations where it's about joy and love and sharing and honoring each other and honoring their authenticity, not who gets what fucking home. Oh, yeah. It just blew my mind. I don't know. I never had thought about it until she asked me. I got kind of animated like I am now.
No, but I agree. But I can't. So part of what's not my authenticity is being in a contract. I am weird. I get weird. I get real weird. And part of it is because I am freedom. I use that word so much, but freedom means many, many things to me. But freedom ultimately is my joy. I've figured it out. It's freedom. Yeah. Whether it's freedom of creation, freedom of expression, freedom of travel, movement, freedom of what the fuck ever. Myra equals freedom.
I like it.
That's it. That's it. That's all that I am. That's me 100%. And I've realized that, and that's the work environment I like to be in. When I'm even creating content, whether it be professional or personal, I'm finding so much joy in being funny. I can be funny. I can talk like we're talking, There's no I'm not constrained to a certain type or a tone. Or in my new career, I get to work with different brands. I don't have one brand that I have to sit there and cry over, like, I worry about their revenue. I'm not worried about their revenue. I'm just doing the best. I mean, I want to do well by them, but but my copy flows better. My writing is better. My ideas are better, and that's just in the professional sphere. But I do change my mind a lot. And I think that society doesn't like that when people change their mind, but we're allowed to change our mind. We're allowed to grow and to decide later, hey, maybe this wasn't for me, or maybe I don't like that as much as I thought I would, or, I do believe in some consistency in life, but being able to, whether it's my clothes or my fashion or my mind or whatever the heck, when I'm constrained and I can't and I'm not allowed to change or grow, or there's these parameters around it, I am not in my and I will not perform well where in any of
Right.
that situation.
Yep.
Like, and even in my relationships with people, there's a freedom in it. There's no, "Oh, if you don't call me, we're not friends." Like there's none of that, or I don't need to see you X amount of times for you to know how I feel about you. It's very genuine and authentic in how we exchange love ideas, thoughts, feelings. And I'm always there for people. And even in my marriage, there's this, I have to be able to be me. What does that look like
Hmm.
being me?
Yeah.
And that's the way that I'm able to truly live in authenticity too, is now that I know. You're right, you ask your clients like, hey, what brings you joy? Now I
Right.
know there is no negotiation around my freedom. Done.
Yeah.
So if I can't be free and change or grow or be expansive, then this ain't happening for Myra.
Yeah.
And
I
now that I
I
know
get that.
that,
Yeah.
now I
Yeah.
can
Now you know you
confidently
can. Yeah.
make decisions, or I know
Yeah.
that without a doubt something's not for me.
Yeah. And that brings you that sense of what you just talked about earlier, that sense of how you feel peaceful and
Hmm.
joyful and calm. And you're not out there searching for some new answer
Yeah.
because you know the answer and you're
Hmm.
living the answer, right?
Yep.
And that's where you that's the ultimate place of living in what I call flow.
Yeah.
You're now living in a flow state, which
Yep.
is where you find joy, even amongst the what we call difficult things that
Difficult.
pop up, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you said something because I'm very much like that. Like I have some beautiful people in my life, beautiful
Hmm.
friends, but I'm not that person that has to have constant contact. In fact, it makes me feel trapped,
Yeah.
because it's an energy of codependency so often.
Hmm.
And we
Yeah.
mask it in other
Hmm.
terms, you know.
Hmm.
But if I need a call, I have a good friend that moved back to her hometown in Utah a
Hmm.
few years ago. And, we may not talk for months, but around the holidays this last year, I was really struggling one
Hmm.
night. Really sad, really needed some advice. I don't even know if I needed advice. I just needed someone.
Yeah.
And she came to my mind, and I texted her and said, "Hey, can I call you?" Because no one calls anymore without texting first,
Yeah.
because then you think somebody's dead.
Exactly.
But anyway, she's like, "Oh, yeah, absolutely." And she was there for me, like, never skipped a beat. And I knew I
Yeah.
could just be who I needed to be. And she held space, and it was beautiful, And
Yeah.
then I haven't talked to her again in months.
Yeah.
It's that you don't always have to have constant communication, doesn't equal love or
Love.
authenticity in a
Exactly.
relationship. It doesn't. A lot of times it is very much a codependent energy that you're transferring. The other thing I wrote down I want to make sure we talk about before we end today, and we're getting close, but is the how does the ego play in to the authenticity of this, right? Because when you're in your higher self, the ego has to start to take a backseat. Just
Hmm.
does, right? The two don't mix well together because your ego is usually so identified with the physical realm, right? The
Hmm.
physical identity, self preservation, material things, your appearance, anything that
Hmm.
lives within the physical energy of what I refer to as 3D energy
Hmm.
plane. We are on the third energy plane living on Earth right now. And so if you're identifying into that ego energy, you are taking away from your higher self. And so recognizing that. And it is not easy. I still struggle with it myself and I have to recognize it. But awareness is always the key. Because when you
Hmm.
can become aware, then you can start to say, that's my ego. And a lot of times when it comes up for me, I'll be like, oh, there's my ego. Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for showing up.
Oh,
I'm going to
100%.
put you to bed again.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. Like I've just recently had conversations with people, everyone likes to give opinions,
Yeah, I
there's
know.
that saying
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And I responded with ego. and I felt it immediately. I felt it within, I mean, I knew. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, okay. And so it's been really cool, because it will show up. That's just what it is, and you got to
Yeah.
work
Oh, it
on
will.
that and what that looked like. And when it showed back up again, it was really cool to be able to be fully aware. Like, okay, here you are,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
address it and work through what that was and then what I needed to do there. And but I could feel it this time, and it's been really cool to know and identify, okay, where am I at? And, times when I knew it was probably ego, I didn't name it, or I was aware or I pushed it down. Now I know how uncomfortable it makes me feel, and I don't want it anymore. I don't want to feel that way or respond that way or act out in that way, and I can address it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that happens when ego shows up is we're reactive, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're in a reactive energy. I did it yesterday. I was in a meeting with my coworkers, and there's a woman, one of my coworkers, who triggers me. She
Mm-hmm.
just does. Like, I'm being
Mm-hmm.
honest. And she was talking to me about needing some help from me or my team on a project. And my ego took over in a split second, you guys. Like, I was like, well, I've got all these things to do and I'll do my best and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't even think, I didn't in the moment think, I was just reactive. And then last night, I always try to do a meditation at night, just even 5-10 minutes to wind down. And that came to me. And it was like,
Mm-hmm.
trust that was your ego. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why couldn't you just in that moment, had I not been an ego, I would have said, yeah, whatever you need, right? There was no
Mm-hmm.
reason for me to act that way. That was just me being
Mm-hmm.
mean. And the
Yeah.
ego also, as much as we don't want to admit it, the ego drives us to be ornery and mean, and we like it. It feels good in the
Mm-hmm.
moment. Like, I hate to say this, but this is part of what I've committed to in doing this podcast is authenticity and truth, because we don't learn through the lens of lying and bullshitting ourselves. Like, I
Exactly.
admit it, I kind of felt good when I was being a bitch. I mean, I did.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. Got a little high out of being mean.
Yeah.
But you can't change it until you acknowledge it. And that's
Exactly.
where the power is. So when that came to me last night, I went into my little hippopono prayer. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Like, please,
Mm-hmm.
I'm forgiving myself, and please, universe, forgive me for acting that way. And
Yeah.
now I hope I can take that and with this individual be more soft, more kind, more
Mm-hmm.
understanding, and think about the soul energy of this person, not the persona of this person. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a challenge for me. And I'm going to keep
It's
working at
hard.
it. It's hard sometimes. But the people who
It's hard
trigger
for
us are the ones that are teaching us the most.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, I agree. I felt it in a meeting the other day, and like after I said what I said, and I was just like, "Oh my God, why did I do that?"
Mm-hmm.
And I got real quippy about like social media because the company I work for, the social media is garbage. I mean, it's garbage, like real garbage. And I'm like, I said something. I was like, well, I've worked with an agency for years. I don't even know. I mean, I didn't say it like that.
I know what I'm talking about, and you
And
don't.
basically, but that was the gist. I was like, your shit sucks, and I actually know how to do this. I've seen it. I know what works or doesn't work. Studied or like been a part of. I've was fortunate enough to surround myself with people who knew
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I grew from that. I was like, oh my God. My director, who's like the nicest guy ever. I mean, this guy is like, seriously, shout out to him. And I'm not even going to, you don't need to go stalk the guy because his name's like, no one's got a name like him, but he's cool. And he was like, well, you can join the meeting if you want. And I mean, Bruno, like that was, and I was like, no, I don't think that's a good use of my time because it's not. It's not. That
Yeah.
there's a person who's really trying to grow in the role. They do
Mm-hmm.
need help. They really do need help. And what I really should have said was, hey, I have some knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
If you need that knowledge, I would love to help.
Yeah.
If it's not needed and I need to focus on A, B, and C, then I understand. Or whatever. I wasn't even
Right.
being helpful. I was just being a
Yeah.
bitch. I was like,
Yeah.
like, but I think like that's part of it. And I feel, part of it too is when you feel trapped. Also, I mean, honestly, like you felt trapped in that moment, whether or not the person triggered you, you felt like, listen, because I know what Tressa's talking about. And I actually know what she's talking about in that exact environment. And I
Mm-hmm.
probably would have responded the same way. I don't even need to know the person. And it's because a trapped feeling. Like I have A, B, and C I have to do, and then here you freaking walk in this room and ask me and expect of me to just say yes. I
Yeah.
want to choose that I'm saying yes. I don't want someone to, there's an expectation that they're not going to walk away and I'm going to say no. And I think that's really more of a balance there too, where it's not feeling guilty about saying yes, because even if you would have been softer, you might have still felt guilty because you're thinking, well, my team's got all this on them, or these people are working on these projects. Like, how will this fit? But that's also just our mind, because it would work out what's meant to work. It would be just fine. People would make it happen and it would work out, because it usually always does. And even when those random requests comes in, but it's that feeling of being trapped. And in my meeting, I felt kind of trapped because there are times when I have a wealth of knowledge and I'm being extremely underutilized. And that's okay, because for whatever reason, I need this in this moment, and I need to be doing exactly what I'm doing in this moment. And I know that my director knows what I can do. He knows. I mean, he's mentioned it many times, but it's like the training wheels, for whatever
Yes.
reason,
Mm-hmm.
he needs me
Yeah.
to have to be in this training wheel, but I don't know, the training wheels are off, but it's like, this is just what they need from me. This poor individual, she's not a poor, I don't know. This girl, this person really don't know what the hell she's doing. And he really needs to grow that individual. But it's weird.
Right.
And me coming in, I'm not helping her. That's
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say. So like,
Yeah. I get
in
it.
this moment, I don't need to be doing that. I need to be
Yeah.
doing what I'm doing. So I think that it's that part of feeling trapped or constrained, and then you become reactive as a
You
way to
do.
feel
Yeah.
control or power back. And,
Yeah.
there's an exchange in that. And I do think there's a balance, but like, it's that part of it in the reactive state. But,
Like a caged animal. I
yeah,
mean, that's what it
it
gives me
feels
the image
like,
of. Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
especially in corporate, like, this is
Yeah.
just part of that navigation. I met someone, my massage lady, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it was her. And she asked me 100 million questions about corporate. She's like, I just don't know how you do it. And she's like, what do you do? And she's like, how do you do that? And then, do you really believe what you're telling people? And I'm sitting here going like, oh my God, like, do I don't,
Do
that's a
it.
great question. And like, I work for a personal finance website, and the irony of my life with it. But the beauty of it is I'm able to write really beautiful pieces authentically. And when she asked me that, I
Yeah.
can honestly say yes. I
Yeah.
said, yes, yes, I am. And like, that also is a flow state where, corporate can be corporate, right? I mean, that's just the whole shit. But I can still be in a flow state in my career, in my job, being in corporate, because I'm not lying with what I'm saying. I really mean what I'm saying. And I'm actually using my knowledge and experiences to help other people going through similar experiences. So it was really crazy how she asked me that, so being authentic in what I'm really doing to whatever it is.
Yeah. And if you are, then, because we're both in the marketing world, and
Yeah.
when you have that level of authenticity, that's when the brand is that energy resonates with people.
Yeah.
Right? It's when you're trying to do things through the lens of deception. And that always translates. Everything translates. It's like, when I cook a meal, I try to make sure that I'm in a joyful, loving state, because
Yeah.
that transfers through the food that I'm eating.
Yeah.
That transfers through everything. So it comes back to the intention always of what you're putting out, regardless of what area it is. And so just a couple of things I'd written down before we end today. Getting to about
Oh,
time,
and
but
before we go, if you
yeah.
haven't written it down, I do want you to share a way that people can connect to their higher self. If you have
Yeah,
a
that's what
way.
I wanted to
Okay,
talk
perfect.
about.
I'm like,
So,
yeah.
yeah. So, connecting to your higher self, a few things. I kind of spoke about this in the beginning of the podcast today, is meditation. And all I mean by meditation is sitting in silence. Like, I have a protocol I give to my clients where I just ask them 5 minutes a day. I'm not going to ask you, because you're not going to do it. You're not going to sit there for an hour. It's not going to
Yeah.
happen. 5 minutes. If you can do it 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night, that's wonderful. I use a candle. I light a candle so I can focus my breath to the flame. And that's all I'm doing. And as you do that, you will have thoughts. But the more that you practice this, the more you sit in stillness and just connection between your breath and an object, maybe you use a light, whatever that is, you will have moments, even milliseconds, where everything is truly present. And you'll feel the blissfulness of the presence, right?
Mhm.
And that's where you get information coming in. So
Mhm.
meditation, the other powerful thing is breath work, right? You're focusing on breath. One of the things that I'll ask my client to do is 3 or 4 times a day, just put in their phone breath work. And it can be for 1 minute. Doesn't have to be long. And I'm not going to go through different techniques. You can look up breathwork techniques. There's a whole bunch of them. You can Google it. Doesn't matter which one you do, but when you use breath, it brings it's prana, it's your life force, right? It brings you into your authentic self. Okay.
Yeah.
The other one I would recommend is being in nature, being present with nature. And when I say that, I don't want you to go up to the mountains and be jamming out and have your AirPods in. That's not being present with nature,
I
but
like it.
yeah, I mean, if that's what you want to do,
No,
but that's
I'm
not,
just
I do it sometimes too.
yeah.
But if I want to utilize nature to help me connect to my higher energy, I try to be present with it. Like the other night, I even took my dog for a hike up here, and I was like, okay, with every step, I want to feel my shoe hitting the ground.
Mhm.
Smell the air, recognize that the trees are blowing, recognize the smells that are happening. Those are just 3 easy ways to start to connect to your higher self. And then as you start to build on those, then you could get into longer sessions of meditative states, of stillness, of, being in nature and being present for longer periods of time. Start with a small step, because you're not going to do it for an hour, 5 minutes. Even if you're taking a walk and only the first 2 or 3 minutes you're really present, and then the next you're listening to your AirPods, or you're letting your mind go wherever. Just start with little bite-sized things, and then it will start to build for you. All
I love
right.
it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let us know how it goes out there in listener land. So until next time, keep your vibrations high.
And stay sassy.